Denise, I think I accidentally muted you.
Hello, puppy. Hello.
Are you sure you accidentally did it?
Denise, I think I accidentally muted you.
Okay.
Ready? Okay.
Yes.
You ready, Denise? Okay. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this Morgan City Council meeting to order. It is January 12th. As we start this meeting off, I'd like to welcome everybody that's on tonight. Appreciate everybody, their attention, your thoughts, interest you've shown to us the last little while. Appreciate that. I'm glad you're here tonight. Hope we can get some resolution to this meeting tonight. First off, start the meeting off. We'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have Ty bring the flag up, and I've asked Jeff Wardell if he'd lead us in that Pledge of Allegiance.
Everybody rise, say the pledge after me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America.
Sorry about that. Everyone hear me now?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your participation in that. And again, great land we live in, America.
Amen.
A lot of things that we need to respect for that opportunity we have. I'd like to ask now Tony if Tony would offer an opening invocation for us. Tony?
You bet. Our Father in heaven, as we gather together tonight at the commencement of our city council meeting, we first wish to take this opportunity which we have to express our thanks and gratitude unto thee for our many blessings. We're grateful, Father, for this beautiful valley in which we live and for the many freedoms and blessings which we enjoy and which thou bestows upon us each and every day. We're grateful for the opportunity which we have to serve in this community. We're thankful for the citizens of this community and for their spirit of service and volunteerism and hospitality. And we're grateful for all those who live and reside in our city. We ask, Father, that thou might bless us this night as we make decisions concerning our city and the future of our city, that we might be guided and directed by thee, that we might always act in a responsible manner and in a fair and equitable manner, that thou might guide, direct our thoughts and our actions. Father, realizing that many times we may have differing points of view on different issues, we would pray that thou might bless us, that we might always maintain a sense of respect and honor and dignity for others and for their opinions, and that even though we may have disagreements, we'll still be able to remain friends with one another and move the community forward. Again, Father, we're grateful for all those things which thou hast blessed us and given us. We pray that thy spirit will be with us here this evening, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. Appreciate those words. Okay, next time on the agenda is the consent agenda. And I'd like to ask the council if you have some information on that. We'd like to come forward with a motion or questions on that.
I've got a couple of questions on warrants. And so let's see, is Ty on with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So Ty, on page 1, just the fourth item down, what's a jetpack?
So that's for the mobile internet. So we have a a couple of employees at their home offices only work because of the having the jetpack.
Okay. Yeah, I only knew of one jetpack, and it wasn't that. Couple more down. The Kubota tractor, was that a new purchase or a used?
Yeah, that's a new purchase, and so the Parks and Recreation Department it's a side-by-side is what it is. And so they have two of those instead of a truck now, so it's a little bit more accommodating for our parks.
Good. Well, there's Ty. I didn't recognize you with the hat and the beard. Hey, page 5, turn over to that one. Just the Morgan Hotel, the 200,000, maybe shed some light on that for me.
Yeah, so our development agreement, that came from the RDA. Our incentive was $200,000 of initial development costs, and then on an annual basis, moving forward, then it's based on the amount of the property tax that's assessed and paid. They'll get a portion of that back for the next 10 years.
And that's paid as a result of the hotel being completed.
Right. Yep. After they got occupancy and they're open, and they submitted about $800,000 worth of development costs. And so we had up to 200,000 was the cap.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I had.
There's a motion.
Mayor,
Tony,
I have a question as well. I noticed that just a question, I noticed we paid some money toward our law enforcement contract. So are we getting a report from the sheriff's department, or do we get a report as to the law enforcement activity that's going on in the city, that the deputy that is assigned to the city, or do we have any interaction with that individual?
I have interaction with the individual. I often ask, they have a rotating, like a 3-month assignment, so I always know who our city car is. I think the mayor used to get the report. I'm not sure if he still does, but the report, as far as I know, had always just gone to the mayor as far as activity. I don't know, Mayor, do you still?
that is correct. Yeah, that's where that report is. Yes.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Just curious about that.
Is there a motion?
Mayor,
Tony,
I will make a motion that we approve the city council electronic work meeting minutes of November 24th, 2020, the city council electronic work meeting minutes of December 8th, 2020, the city council electronic meeting minutes of December 8th, 2020, and the warrants.
is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion by Tony, second by David. We approve the consent agenda. That consent agenda consists of the 3 set of minutes and set of warrants. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Those who are on council, if you raise your hand for a vote on this, appreciate that. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes. Okay. Anybody opposed? Okay. Motion passed unanimously. All 5 council members voting for the consent agenda. Okay, next item on the agenda is it correct, Denise, we don't have any public comments? They'll be taken care of public hearing. Okay. We'll move to item 3 on the agenda. Item 3 on the agenda, as most of you have seen or are aware, is public hearing. That was continued. It was continued from our last meeting. The reason it was reopened was for to receive new information regarding rezone request. I appreciate everybody that's on tonight. I would like to suggest that I guess we've heard this for 2 or 3 months. I've got confidence in the council. As was explained earlier, as a council, we have not talked about where we're at with this. I believe in the process of council members doing their work, receiving input, and making choices and decisions. With that said, it was left open to receive new information. So I would like to request that you have respect for the council and their intelligence and ability to analyze what they've received prior to. If you have some information you think is pertinent tonight, it's open now for public comments. If anybody likes to comment, get some new information, please unmute yourself, raise your hand so we can address that. Any comments?
This is Daryl Rupp.
Okay, Mr.
I'm
Rupp.
just wondering if from a procedural standpoint, if I need to articulate the change in our petition or if the letters that were submitted in advance of this meeting have done that sufficiently.
You're welcome to articulate so everybody on the line knows what it is. I think the council is aware of what it is. The council's received that, so the council's aware. If you want to articulate that so everybody else online can hear that, you're welcome to do that, Mr. Rupp.
Okay. So what we have done is, after careful consideration, our original application was that the zoning be changed from agricultural to R110. We've modified that to say that it would be acceptable to us if it was approved at R112 rather than R110. The letters summarize our thinking regarding that. There is one point that I would like to make, and that is that the number of lots on a concept design with R112 would be reduced to approximately 23, depending upon how it's actually configured in the end. Given the unique shape of the property, many of those lots would in fact be larger than 12,000 square feet. And so we feel like that makes it come in as sort of a happy medium between the original R110 requested and the R120, which has been expressed to be more desirable by neighbors. Short of reading the letter that we sent, that's basically the only comment that we have.
Okay,
Hang on just one moment, please.
go ahead.
Not only did we send a letter to each of the council members, we also sent letters to anyone and everyone that is within 300 feet or more of our property, so that they have all received letters and are well aware of our proposal.
We received a list of everyone who received the notification from the city, and we have mailed out a letter to them expressing our thoughts.
And more.
Okay.
Others, I mean.
Is there anybody else at this point that has any new information would like to speak in public hearing? If not, the next process would be to close public hearing, and the council will deal with the rezone.
I have something, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, who's Mr. Freestone?
Yeah, this is Blaine Freestone.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
One question I have is they sent out this letter to us requesting the R112, which I just want to go on record saying I still oppose that. I still believe it needs to be an R120. But the other thing that they put in that letter that's got me a little disturbed, that it says no, with no development agreement. I would like somebody to elaborate on that. I mean, is that telling me that they can do whatever they want on those lots, or what does that mean?
What a development agreement is that's typically between a developer and the city. What that means is they have no intention of a development agreement. They merely want the zoning to be the R112. They do not want to enter into any kind of development agreement. That'd be something down the road that a developer may or may not propose if a developer picks up the ground.
So, yeah, my concern is that it's leaving things open-ended, that somebody can come in and do whatever, you know, these homes around here, like when we build ours, we had to have so much brick on the front, you know, like a normal subdivision. And that my concern was that was leaving that open-ended, and that would not be included. That was my big concern.
That does not do that.
Okay, that was the question I had. Thank you.
Anything else, new information or new questions? Denise or Todd, do you see anybody? Okay, with that, I'd ask go ahead, Gary.
Just let me make it clear that the council is the one they're the entity and that determines whether or not there will be a development agreement with the project. So it's not the developer's choice. It really is the council's choice. And so it will be a rezone, but whether or not there's a development agreement attached to it would be up to the council. So if there are things that need to be addressed.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll entertain a motion from the council then to close the public hearing.
So moved, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, motion by Tony, second by Jeff Wardell, that we close the public hearing. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, proceed to vote again. Those who are on the council by raise of hand, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, please raise your hand. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 5 hands. 5 council members have voted. They've all voted in favor of closing the public hearing. So I'll declare the public hearing is closed. Okay, now I'll open the floor for discussion and or a motion from the council dealing with the rezone. Ordinance 20-05 rezone request. So council, discussion and or motion.
Mayor,
Hey, Tony?
after obviously a lot of thought and discussion on this, I'm prepared to make a motion. My motion is that we approve, adopt ordinance 20-05, 20-05, the rezone request from agriculture to single family residence and zone it an R112 with the property located at approximately 55 North, 400 West.
Okay, the council's heard that motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I can second that motion, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jeffrey, we can.
I'm trying to do this off of a phone and I hope it's working out here. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Tony, second by Jeffrey. We approve ordinance 20-05, rezone request from agricultural to single family residential to R112. Is there discussion on the motion from the council?
Mayor, I'd like to maybe discuss that for a minute. As I've thought about this over the past, what have we been at this now? 3 months, 2 months? You know, as I've sat here and thought about this, I've pondered on it. I've taken the map and followed our council's Gary's request, and that he gave us some advice of to take all the emotion out of it and just look at the city, how we want to do this. I am concerned that once we give up our farm ground to turn it into houses, that's a decision that we can't go back on. We all appreciate the open space here. And I think as a city, we've done a very good job at having diversity across the city. If you look at some of the recent developments that we've done, we've got some low density housing over by Tractor Supply. We've done some other subdivisions that are lower density. But I'd ask the question, in the future, where do we put the bigger lots? In my opinion, people are starving for these bigger lots. And where are we going to put those in the city? If we keep continuing to fill in houses, where do those bigger lots fit in? Or do they even? I mean, that's part of the whole reason I think we all love Morgan is those big open spaces. But where does that fit into this plan?
Any further discussion?
Mayor, I probably not quite, well, I guess I'd like to see maybe a little bit larger lot and would have some arguments for that, but realize there's a motion on the table. Probably our only alternative right now would be to vote. Is that correct?
Well, let me explain the process, I guess we can for a minute. And again, it's hard to do, to take emotion out of the piece, and I understand that. But if you can, the council's, my direction would be, if you can take the emotion out of it, look at what you, from your study, from your looking, from your pondering, what is the best use of that area as far as city goes? The next step for this group after discussion would be to vote on that motion. Tony's motion was the R112, second by Jeff. If that motion should pass, then that would be, the zone change would be intact. It would take 3 votes in favor to pass that. If that motion does not pass, if that motion fails, if only 2 vote for it, then that would open the floor for another motion if someone else decide to move. That other motion would need to be the R110 or R120. We do need to resolve this issue. And so in your mind, I don't know if you decide exactly where you think you want to vote on this, what direction you think you want to go, but that's what's before us at this point, is discussion on Tony's motion. And then we'll need to call for a vote on that motion. Once again, if the motion passes, meaning 3 votes for, then that would be the zone change, would be to R112. If that motion should fail, there's only 2 votes for, 3 votes against it, then the floor would be open for another substantive motion, which would probably be the R120 motion. And then we would discuss that and vote on that motion. The vote on that motion then would either pass or fail, depending on the number of votes for that motion or against that motion. Does that help explain the procedure and process, David?
Yes, although let me just share my feelings, and that is I think there's something in between a 12 and a 20 that in my mind is appropriate. And I don't know if the motion can be amended or if it could. And again, I can appreciate Tony would have to instigate that, but I'd have some argument that would say an R113 or 14 would be in line, which could be handled with a development agreement.
But that would have to happen down the road, David, with a developer. The only choices tonight would be an R112 or an R120. The only choices tonight.
My understanding is that if we could set a development agreement, if it did not pass, well, let me back up. We could set the development agreement and an agreement, of course, is between the city and the landowner. If it was not signed by the landowner, then it would revert back to not passing. And Gary, a little color on that.
I think,
David, a development agreement is not on the table tonight. You have 2 choices, R112, R120, or R110. We cannot institute a development agreement until a developer requests one. And RUPS has specified they're not interested in a development agreement. So even though it may end up being an R113 or 14 or 15, that is not an option tonight for the council.
But Mayor,
Tony.
may I make a comment?
Sure.
The reason I made the motion, and I have thought a lot about this, and a little bit to Dave's point that he just made. I agree with you, Dave. Maybe somewhere in the middle would be great. But as I look at this parcel of ground on the R112, I realize that some of these lots are going to be larger than R112. There are going to be some larger lots in this subdivision. Simply put, I just felt that this was a good compromise. You know, we've had a lot of input. Appreciate the input we've had from many people. Of course, RUPS being the landowners, you know, they have a right as well. But I just felt that this was a good compromise. I'll bare my soul here for just a second. My least favorite zone is an R120, and I have some very personal experience with that, because that's exactly what my lot is over here where I live. To me, it's too much and not enough. Acre lots are great. You can have a 1/4 acre of your lot, your home and your yard, 3/4 of an acre for a couple of horses and some cows. Sometimes my problem with 20,000 square feet is it's just not quite enough to have any livestock on. And so if some folks are not terribly responsible with their yard, you got 30, 40 feet of backyard that's just sort of left in desolation, and it's a lot of grass. I know my lot is 20,000 square feet. So I just thought it was a good compromise, and not every lot there is going to be 12,000 square feet. There's going to be some larger lots. So I just wanted to explain my reasoning, Mayor. So thank you.
And David, let me close. I agree with your train of thought as well. I think ideally it's going to end up being 13, 14, 15,000 square feet. At the end of the day, that's where it'll end up. But unfortunately, that's not an option we have tonight to create a different zone. And I think you're very correct. That's where it will end up because of the odd shape. The average size lot, if it was rezoned R112, the average size lot is going to be 14 or 15,000 square feet. If they take the average, there'll be some 12, there'll be some much larger because of the shape of the ground. That's really what will happen there. But our choice scenario, the basically the three choices. We can't recommend one in the middle.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ray, and that is to do the math, and I've crunched some numbers for sure, but taking out for infrastructure as well as irregular shape, as well as, retention ponds and so forth, it truly does. A 12,000 square foot zoning turns into about a 14,000 square foot lot, and vice versa as you go up the line. I would just throw that out for information.
Right. And very well done, Dave. Good homework on it. Other questions, other comments? Discussion on the motion. Jeff or Jeffrey, any input before we vote? Are you ready to vote?
Can you see or hear me at all, Ray? I'm sitting out here in the dark
Yes,
car.
we can hear you. We can hear you, Jeffrey.
I guess I'm kind of, to Tony's point, and I just want to kind of share my thinking as I look at that map in that area, the R112, and you look, I'm trying to get on another phone of the map, the 400 West that the master plan shows is going to come around and hook back in, to step it from an R112 to the R120 to get out into those bigger lots as we move out with the master plan. I just think that's a sensible, great step process to get out further away from town to get into the bigger lots. So as time comes, and I hate the thoughts of it as well, to bring more and more people, and there went my light. I apologize. Let me try to get my light back on. To get the step process to get out and to develop the town the way, I guess that's the way I see the development moving out in that neighborhood. So the 112, and I know we're going to be probably bigger than that, and then the next one out, go an R120, get out to the 1 acre lots. So I feel confident and comfortable, and that's a great compromise to get that part of the community developed.
So I'd ask this, the piece is sitting right next to this property's for sale. What we gonna, it's priced high enough that it ain't farm ground. I'll tell you that much. So what we gonna, somewhere around this town, we got to start thinking about bigger lots and having some open space. We're going to fill this up with houses. Then what?
Part of a general plan, Eric.
Yeah, I know.
We've got a wonderful period right now for the next few months to provide input for that.
You know what? And I'd say this to all the citizens that are on here with us tonight, is we're reworking our master plan. It is a wonderful time to become involved in your community and have a say in what the future of Morgan's going to hold. That really is what we've got to go off of. So is that process starts to come about, I'd say to all the people that are listening, please come and be involved in that process with that master plan for the Planning Commission.
Amen, Eric.
Jeff, any input from Jeff? You want to give any thoughts, or are we ready to vote?
Ready to vote.
Okay. Dave, Eric, Tony, Jeffrey, anything else? You ready to vote?
Do
Okay,
it.
see no further discussion, then I'll call for a vote. Since this is a ordinance, we'll go by roll call vote. Tony,
Aye.
Jeffrey,
Aye.
okay, Jeff,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Eric,
Nay.
okay. Motion passed with 4 ayes and 1 nay. Denise is no of those. So ordinance 20-05 has been passed, and the zoning is an R112. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a financial report. I'll turn time over to Denise to talk about that and to discuss that financial report with us.
So Mayor, we lost Denise. Uh-oh. During that, she came in and said she got booted off, so it's just me. I think she's trying to
Log back on.
log in. But I can just introduce the topic. Every year we, as the council knows, we have our previous year audited. We had, it was a little slower coming this year than normal, but the audit has been complete, and we have Jeff Ambrose with us that can give us a report. If I can find.
Thanks, Ty. I'm going to start by I'm going to share my screen if I can.
I will probably need to make you a co-host.
Okay, or you, if you have it, you can drive it. It says it's disabled on my end, so if you want to.
Let me make you a co-host.
Okay. While you're doing that,
I don't have anything pulled up right now, so let's try it now.
Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present the 2020 audit report. As Ty mentioned, it was a little slower this year because of timing with Ryan's group, and also just because we had to do everything so remotely due to the COVID situation. Weren't able to get out and do a lot of stuff physically, but we were able to work through a lot of that, and appreciate the opportunity to go over that with you tonight. A word of thanks to all your folks in the office. Every time we had a request, they were very responsive and got stuff back to us in a timely manner. And special word of thanks to Ryan and his crew. They put together this report, and they write a very good report. So they've done a very good job on this. Just going to go through and touch on some of the highlights. We'll move through to when I mention a page number, it's the page number at the bottom of the page, not necessarily your PDF page number. So the first part of the report is pages 1 and 2. It's the independent auditor's report. That's what I'm showing you right now. This is where we express our opinion on the financial statements, and we have issued an unmodified or clean opinion, which is the highest level of opinion we can render. And basically what it's telling you is that all the numbers that we're going to look at are all fairly stated, and we didn't have to make any adjustments to the numbers that was provided to us by Ryan and his group and by Denise and Lori. So clean opinion there, and that's what you always hope for. Next part of the report is called Management's Discussion and Analysis. And in this section of the report, this is on pages 3 through 7. This is a condensation or a summary, if you will, of the financial statements that we're going to take a look at. And Ryan and his guys have done a very good job of summarizing the rest of the report. There's some really good comparisons here between fiscal 2020 and fiscal 19 that you can see broken down by governmental activities and business type activities, and so on. And I'll just throw that out there for your consideration. You can take a look at that at your leisure. The next part of the big part of the report that we want to look at, this first statement is called the Statement of Net Position. This is the balance sheet of the entire city, and it has broken down into two sections there. You can see the governmental activities, which is your governmental funds, and then the business type activities, which is the utility funds and the motor pool. Some of the highlights here are that cash and restricted cash citywide increased about $1.5 million. Your total assets also increased about $2.2 million. There was some construction on some infrastructure and some water and sewer lines and so on. And that increased the total assets. Your debt decreased a little bit. You paid your long-term debt. So as a result, your net position, which is the difference between your assets and your liabilities, increased about $2.2 million for the year. So that's a nice little increase there. This next statement is called the Statement of Activities. That's the governmental terminology for your income statement. A few years ago, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board thought it would be meaningful to kind of present a different format here. And so this statement starts out, the first column is expenses rather than our revenues. Most of us are used to starting out with our revenues, and then from that we deduct our expenses. But the Governmental Accounting Standards Board thought that it would be meaningful to show what the cost of providing services within the city is. And so you can see this first column here is expenses, and from that we reduce it by charges for services, operating grants, and capital grants to come up with a net cost of providing services over here. And then from that we take some general revenues such as property tax and sales tax. And sometimes we have citizens asking why do we have to charge property tax and sales tax and so on? And that's because governmental services typically don't contemplate charging for those types of services. And so that's why there's some general revenues here that help cover those costs. As you can see in the governmental activities column, there was a change in net position in the governmental activities of about 1.2 million, a change in the business type activities of about a little over 1 million for a total of 2.2 million. And that's up from the prior year in both cases. So I think you had a pretty good year. I suspect part of that big increase may have been due to the fact that starting in about March or so, things kind of slowed down in the economy and in governments in general. So maybe we just weren't able to get as much stuff done. Perhaps some of this stuff was planned that way. If you did, either way, you had a pretty good year there. So those are some good increases there. The next statement here is the statement of fund is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. Excuse me. That's on page 10 of the report. Again, the highlights are that your total cash is up about $580,000. Your restricted cash increased about $146,000. And your total assets over here increased about $671,000. Liabilities are actually down about $84,000. So with assets going up and liabilities going down, there was a nice little increase in the fund balances. Your total fund balances for all those governmental funds increased about $652,000. This next schedule on page 11 here just reconciles that statement we just looked at back to the statement of net position on page 8. And the reason for that is because in our governmental funds, we don't report capital assets or long-term debt primarily. So that's where we're adding those items in and subtracting out the long-term debt. And that makes it tie back to the information reported on page 8. The next report is called the Statement of Revenues and Expenditures and Changes in Fund Balance. That's page 12 at the bottom of the report. Most of the revenues were up, and actually expenditures were down a little bit, so that our excess of revenue over expenditures here about midway down was a little higher than it was the year before. And one of the things that did is it gave you the opportunity to transfer some money out of the general fund and into the capital projects fund so that those could be used for future purposes, future capital projects. So overall, general funds net change in fund balance was a little lower than it was last year, but these other funds were higher, so that in total, it increased about $356,000. This next statement is just a reconciliation form, again, to reconcile the statement we just looked at back to the statement of activities on page 9. Now, the next few statements pertain to the proprietary funds, which is your water, sewer, garbage, electric fund, and also the motor pool fund. On this balance sheet, cash is up in all the enterprise funds, and the net position increased in all funds except for the electric fund. It was down slightly. So your overall financial position improved in your proprietary funds. And as we get into the notes, you'll see that some of these items called utility systems, which is kind of an infrastructure type item, those increased quite a bit. There was some completion of some projects that were started the year before. And so those items got increased and brought online during the year. That's a two-page report there. The next set of pages is the operating statement or the income statement for the water, sewer, garbage, and electric funds and the motor pool fund. And in most cases, operating revenue increased in all the funds. Expenses increased a little bit too, but income was increased a little bit more than the expenses did. So we saw our operating income increase in all funds except the electric fund. One of the things you'll note down here near the bottom is there were some capital contributions this year. Those were some infrastructure items built by developers who were putting lines, water lines and sewer lines into the system, and those become assets of the city and become property of the city. So both of those, or all of those funds, had pretty good increases, with the exception of the electric fund, which was down a little bit, still had a positive number. Each fund still had net income for the year, but the electric fund was down a little bit. And then that's the second part of that. The next couple of statements, called the statement of cash flows, it's kind of a hybrid between the balance sheet and the operating statement we just looked at. And it shows how cash flows into the funds and where it flows out. Most of the inflows come from day-to-day operations, which is the top section here. And then there's some outflows from capital and related financing activities. And that's primarily the acquisition and construction of fixed assets and also payment of debt in the sewer fund. So you can see some decreases there. Every one of these funds, including the motor pool internal service fund, had an increase in cash for the year. And what that does is it bumps up your cash balance and helps improve your working capital, so you can have additional funds available to operate the systems during the coming year. And so there's nothing wrong with having a nice little increase in cash. The next part of the financial statements, and it's about 28 pages or so, are the notes of the financial statements. I'm not going to go into all of those in detail, but if you can look at page 33, I'll try to get up there pretty quick. 33 and 34 shows the changes in our capital assets. Page 33 here is primarily dealing with the governmental activities, which is activity that takes place in the capital projects fund and the general fund. And you can see the big increase there was acquisition of a couple of vehicles in the motor pool, and also some infrastructure, which is streets, roads, sidewalks, curbs, gutter, that sort of thing. And then over here on page 34, this is the business type activities. This is the water fund, sewer fund, electric fund, and so on. You can see there's a big increase down here in the systems. A lot of that was worked on the prior year, so you'll see a corresponding decrease up in construction in progress. Some of those projects were started the prior year. They were finished up in the current fiscal year and got transferred down here into the systems. And those are the big increases right there. The next couple of pages is the long-term liabilities. And that again pertains primarily to the sewer fund. You still have some outstanding bonds shown here in on page 35. The principal balance remaining is $585,000, which really isn't a whole lot of money at this point. And then there's another set of revenue bonds where the balance is 2.7 million. And those mature in about 19 years or so. And then on here on page 37, you can see that there's what the changes are. There was no new debt issued during the year, and you can see this column for reductions shows how much got paid during the year. The next section of the report, right after the notes, is the some required supplemental information. And the first two pages of that, which is pages 47 and 48, is a statement where we compare the actual operating results of the general fund to both the original budget and the final budget. And you can see here that most of these variances are favorable, which means that revenue came in higher than anticipated when you did the budget, and that expenditures were all lower than what you budgeted. So there were no departments over budget on the expenditure side. So that means you did a pretty good job of monitoring the budget, making sure you stayed under budget for the year and not exceeding your budget. That's one of the things that the state auditor has us look for, is did the entity stay within their budget parameters? And you did. The next couple pages of the report are just some statistical information that's required as it pertains to the Utah retirement systems. When we get down the road, there'll be 10 years worth of information on these schedules. And this just talks about the amount of contributions you made in the into the Utah retirement systems on behalf of your employees for the year. And then on pages 52 and 53, governmental accounting standards require that we define governmental funds as either major or non-major, and it's typically based on the size of the fund relative to the other funds. And so these are three non-major funds, and so they get reported separately. And then the totals on page 52 ties to the specific column for other governmental funds back on page 10. And then on the income statement here on page 53, the totals of those items tie to the other governmental or the non-major governmental funds columns back on page 12. So that just kind of pulls those numbers together and then moves them forward so that you can see them in total. And then the final part of the report is a couple of letters that we're required to include, required by the state auditor to include. This first one we call the Yellow Book Report. We are required to assess your internal control over financial reporting and to test for your compliance with various laws and regulations. This is a clean report. We did not find any material weaknesses in internal controls, nor did we find any compliance issues that were material enough to be reported. And then the last two pages of the report is specific to some compliance work that the state auditor requires us to do in regard to some specific areas of state code. And you can see those listed there near the top of the report. One of the new items this year is that you're required to do a fraud risk assessment every year. And as I recall, you had a pretty high score on that, which means you have a low fraud risk. And that's one of the things that we had to test there. This is a clean opinion. We did not find any material weaknesses over your compliance with state code, nor did we find any compliance issues that we had to report there. The last thing I need to let you know is that even with the challenges faced this year with COVID and doing a lot of the work remotely, we did not have to change our scope of the work that we did to perform the audit. We didn't have any difficulties in performing the audit, and we didn't have any disagreements with management. And as I mentioned before, we did not have any adjustments to the financial statements that were provided to us. So everything is clean. And I think you did a good job of keeping track of your finances this year. And like, as I said, got good, clean reports. So that is, that's your report. Be happy to answer any questions for you at this point.
Any questions of the council, please?
I've got two questions, Mayor, one for Ty and then Jeff, one for you.
Okay.
Page 8, turning over there to the statement of net position. This one's to Ty. Accounts receivable, a big change there, went from $12,000 to $439,000. And Ty, you may not have all the information right immediate for that, and we could discover that later, but do you know what that is right off?
I have to look at it.
Ask the question again. Are you talking
Yeah,
about?
where are you at?
Accounts, it's the accounts receivable went from 12,000 to 439. Number one, a big change, but
Oh, well, that's two different items there. One, the 12,000 is in the governmental activities, and that's just the general fund, capital projects funds, and so on. The 439 is the total receivables outstanding at June 30th for water bills, sewer bills, electric bills, and that sort of thing. And let me see if I can tell you how much that changed. It did go up a little bit, but it went up about $100,000 from the prior year. So what happens is during June, you send out bills that include an amount due to all of your customers for water, sewer, garbage, and electric. And that's the unpaid balance at the end of June. Last year, that was about $327,000.
you know, Jeff, that was my bad. I had just finished looking at the basic statements there at the beginning and was comparing year over year and assumed that was the same on this. So,
well, that's fine.
Nice explanation, but my apology on that.
No problem.
Next one, though, Jeff, is to you. Page 54 on your statement there. About midway through the letter, a deficiency in internal controls. You define deficiencies as in two categories, a material weakness and a significant weakness. And then on the next paragraph, you define we did not identify any deficiencies in internal controls that we consider to be material weakness, but yet it's silent on any significant deficiency.
Yeah, that's kind of this is a standard report that we get from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and there's a hierarchy of deficiencies there. So there's a material weakness, which is the worst level, the highest, the worst deficiency. And then there's a significant deficiency and whatever the other one is. So by saying that we didn't find any material weaknesses, we also didn't find any of those other types of weaknesses.
Oh, got it. Yeah, anything that would be less than that would be included.
We didn't, exactly. Correct.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah. Just one other, you talk about you're not expressing an opinion on the, or you are on the effectiveness of the internal controls. Accordingly, we do not express an opinion on the effective, or we do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of Morgan City's internal controls. When do you ever do that? And when is that important? And
yeah, that's a separate type of engagement. That's kind of a performance audit, and that's something different than is contemplated in a financial audit. The way the rules are currently laid out is we have to we have to look for these weaknesses, but we don't have to test them deeply enough to say, to express an opinion on the internal controls. That would involve a whole lot more detailed testing of transactions and doing what we call walkthroughs, where we actually observe the specific day-to-day processes on a kind of a random basis throughout the year. And it's a whole lot more work than is typically contemplated for a financial audit. So what happens is, as we're doing the financial audit, if something jumps out at us and becomes obvious to us, then we report it here in this section of this particular report. Otherwise, we're not required to dig down any deeper than that for internal control. And to be honest with you, sometimes those internal control deficiencies are very obvious when we go into a place. We can see that there's not segregation of duties. There's not oversight from the council. There's not approvals from the city manager. There's not, it's lacking in those types of areas, and that becomes very obvious. But to actually get to the point where we can express an opinion on internal control, it's a much bigger process, and it's a different focus than a financial audit. Does that make sense?
I could chime in on that as well, just for your information, David. We completed that in 2017. So it's something that we asked Ryan Child's office to specifically do, is to come and evaluate our processes and walk through our deficiencies, as we got a new accounting software. And so you're welcome to kind of look at that and look at some of the changes that we went through on that process.
so is that something that's good to do on a, say, regular basis, or just when we find problems?
I would say just when you find problems. I think you have a system that's functioning pretty well right now. You have enough employees that there's adequate segregation of duties. You have oversight from the city manager. You yourselves provide good oversight. You guys are pretty well involved, I think, in monitoring what goes on a day-to-day basis, more so than some other councils that I see. So I think like I said earlier, I think if there was a problem in the internal control system, I think that would jump out at us as we did some of this other work. And by the way, engaging another firm such as Ryan's to do the accounting before they even turn it over to us provides an additional level of control. And his people see things on a day-to-day basis. We also see that. And I think part of your fraud risk assessment and your overall risk allocation or your risk assessments throughout the year, you guys all three of us would notice things if there was problems in the system. So.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay.
So Mayor, Ryan Child's also on.
Yeah, I say, David, I appreciate very much your questions. Appreciate them very, very much. Thank you, David. If there's any comment of the council, I'd like to turn time back to Denise. Denise, are you on? Is Denise on time?
Yes, yes, I'm back.
Denise, would you prepare something? Would you comment and introduce our other members of the team to us, please?
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank Jeff for attending the meeting tonight and giving us that report. Ryan Child is also in attendance to the meeting and available to answer any questions that the council may have. I'd also like to welcome Katie, if she's still on the meeting, as the new member with Ryan Child's office that will be helping Morgan City with our accounting. So if you have any questions, direct them to either Jeff or Ryan.
Hello, everybody. I wanted to thank Jeff as well for providing some good information, some meaning behind this big report that we put so much time into. And I'd also like to thank Ty and Denise and all of the help that they've provided in getting information to us on a regular basis. It makes this whole process smooth and helps out just exactly the way that it should, in my opinion. Works out well.
Ryan, would you maybe kind of indicate to the council and the rest of the citizens who are listening, like maybe kind of what your role is in the process and what your company does for us, please?
Sure. So on a monthly basis, when we receive notification from generally Denise or Ty that the bank statements are ready and available, we're able to log in remotely to the financial system of Morgan City and perform bank reconciliations and post any adjustments that we may find for reclassifying entries or doing any other adjustments that may be needed. And then, of course, you as the mayor and council receive a monthly financial report along with a few brief bullet point items that may be of significance for the month as they relate to the budget or fund balances and so forth. And then at the end of the year, we take all of the financial information and basically reference and tie that information down to supporting documentation so that the transactions and the balances are supported with documentation that we can then provide to Jeff and his staff, and they can go through and audit and verify that everything is correct and supported with documentation.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
I apologize for names. The lady that's working with you, Ryan, that's also helping you.
Yeah, so Kennedy Riley has been assisting with Morgan City for a while. She has recently moved on to her next adventure in life. And so we are going to miss her deeply, but appreciate everything she did. And Katie Giddens is stepping into the role that Kennedy has previously played in preparing reconciliations and the monthly financial statements. And Katie has her her master's degree in accounting, and she's working on her CPA license. And well, Katie, you're here, I believe. Maybe you can say hello and introduce yourself as well. If she's still here with us, I think she
yeah,
is.
no, I'm still here.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Katie. I have my master's in taxation, and I am part of the way through getting my CPA license, and hopefully we'll have that done by the end of this year. I'm excited to be able to take on the accounting for Morgan City and to be able to just be part of everything for this. So thanks.
We appreciate, at least the feedback I get back from staff, is we appreciate Ryan, your firm, and as we get to know Katie, I'm sure we appreciate Katie as well. Just for a long time done our year-end audit too. Appreciate those things. I might note, and Tony could maybe chime in too, in years past, we've had some items on the report we've had to respond back to with the state. And so to me, it's refreshing this year to have a totally clean report. That to me helps me have confidence in the pieces we have in place with Ryan and Katie, and then with Ty and the rest of our office staff. Those pieces seem to be working together to help make the financial operations positive and successful. So I thank for the full group. Any other questions or comments from the council?
Just to your point, Mayor, it's refreshing to be able to see on a monthly basis where we stand. Prior to bringing Ryan on, sometimes it was kind of difficult to know exactly where we were. So it's very helpful to see everything on a monthly basis and how we're proceeding. So I think we made a very good decision when we decided to bring Ryan on board.
Denise, anything further from your point of view? Okay.
Ray, I'd like to just commend Ty, Laurie, and Denise for their good work. I mean, that's our management, and they're responsible for the clean opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that, David.
Mayor, do you need a motion on this?
I say it's not legally required, but I would like one on this so that we show support of acceptance of the report. Yes, please.
Well, if there are no other comments, Mayor, I would make a motion that we accept, I guess that's the correct word.
Yes.
The 2020 financial report as presented to us by Jeff Ambrose, our audit report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Motion by Tony, second by Jeff, that we accept the 2020 financial report as presented by Jeff Ambrose. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, if not, we'll proceed to vote. It's not an ordinance, so just go by hand raise. Those you raise your hand, the council, so I can get a count of those if you would. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Okay, we have 4. Motion passed and 4 affirmative. Jeff Richards had to leave us, so he's no longer on. So 4-0, that passed. Thanks for that approval. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we go to item number 5. I'm going to turn this over to Tony for Tony to discuss this item for us.
Thank you, Mayor. If you've reviewed the staff report, it was in your packet. You'll see this is a final review for Riverstone Townhomes Phase 2. January 2020, the Planning Commission reviewed and approved the preliminary plat. The final plat for Phase 1 was reviewed by the Commission on March 17th, 2020, and was then approved by the City Council on March 24th, 2020. This is Phase 2. This development, the total development consists of 95 units on about 11.31 acres. And the final plot before us is Phase 2 of the 5 phases and consists of 16 units. The final plot does comply with the physical development standards as outlined in 11-06-050 of the Morgan City Municipal Code. So on December 15th, 2020, the Planning Commission made a recommendation to the City Council to approve the final plat for Riverstone Townhomes Phase 2. And again, this is Phase 2 with 16 units.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions on what this item is? Okay, David?
No, I don't.
Okay, okay. If not, I'll entertain a motion on agenda item number 5.
Mayor,
Tony,
I will make a motion that we approve final approval of Riverstone Townhomes Phase 2.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tony, second by David, that we give final approval Riverstone Townhomes Phase 2. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing now, we'll proceed to vote. This is, let's just go by roll call. Tony,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Eric. You're muted, Eric.
Working on it. There I am. Aye.
And David.
Aye.
Okay, 4 ayes, therefore the motion passed. Before we leave this, Cole's online. Cole, would you unmute yourself and kind of tell us kind of where you're at, how things are going with Phase 1, and what your thoughts are on the project?
Sure. Thank you, Ray. Everything's moving along. We've got about 11 units that are being built right now. We've got 8 more found units that are in the ground. We've had a ton of interest in the project. We're still excited about it. We've got had a lot of locals here, young kids and whatnot that are wanting to purchase these, and so we're anxious to get Phase 1 built out and push on into Phase 2 this summer. So,
Do you have a guesstimate on which and the time frame when some of those may be available in Phase 1?
yeah, we're hoping to start releasing Phase 1 sometime in March, and once we start releasing those, we should have some each month that are ready to sell. So that's the goal right now.
Okay, thank you, Cole. Any questions for Cole from the council while he's on? Okay, thank you, Cole. Appreciate that. Thank you for what you're doing. Okay, we'll now go to agenda item number 6. Item number 6 and 7 are kind of together. I'll discuss that in just a minute. Appreciate Denise's work on this as well, and Teresa. Item number 6 has to do with the amendment to the Planning Commission section. As you look at that first page there, an ordinance 21-41, we just need to would like to propose to make some wording change. You notice down under A, we've to strike out the words every even numbered year. The reason we're doing that is we have this, as you read, there's 7 members on the Planning Commission, 2 alternates, those 9 folks. If we're gonna rotate those terms within a 4-year period of time, we can't do it just on even numbered years and have only 2 or 3 go off each year. So Denise, and maybe work with Gary, the change we'd like to do just to delete every other numbered year and add the word in the month of January. You can probably see that change on ordinance 21-01. Merely so we can have a rotation of our 9 members within a 4-year time period. Any discussion on that one or questions?
So Ray, there was I think this is the one that had the addition to it, the Morgan City Planning Commission members and terms. And then it lists the members and their term off to the side.
That's the next one. That's the next resolution 2102.
All right, we'll wait till next one.
You're okay. No, you're fine, David. You're fine. They two are kind of together. They're kind of the same deal. They really are.
Oh, let's get past the first one, and then I'll bring up a point or two on the second one.
Okay, that's fine. Any questions on 2101? Okay, so you know, I entertain a motion on orders 2101.
I move to approve the planning, is that the Planning Commission of, let's see, amendment to Title II, Chapter 2.02, Planning Commission, Section 2.02.01.
This would be item number 6, ordinance 2101.
Ordinance 21.01.
Item number 6, David.
Right, that's what I just read.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, David made a motion. Tony by second to approve ordinance 21-01, amendment to Title II, Chapter 2002, Planning Commission section. And as you see on the document proposed, just strikes out words every even numbered year and adds the word in. Any discussion on the motion? As you know, proceed to vote by roll call. Tony?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And David?
Aye.
Okay, 4 ayes. Motion passed unanimously then for ordinance 2101. Okay, now the next one is resolution 2102, Planning Commission appointment. For the turn of the page, as you remember, the process we went through was to put some names up. And we talked about those names, and then the council voted on those names. One thing that we need to note here, this year, we had 2 previous council members whose terms expired. That was Nathan McClellan and then David Carter. As we communicated with those, Nathan requested to stay on. David Carter said he'd had enough time, thanks for the experience, but he chose to not be a member of that commission further. So therefore, we were appointing 3 new ones for that vote process we went through before. Nathan, so tonight in the resolution 2102, we are, I'm proposing that we appoint those 4 individuals. Nathan McClellan, again, to renew his term for another 4 years. Justin Reese as a member, one of the 7 members for a 4-year term. And then Dan Dix as an alternate and Mark Francis as an alternate. The reason Mark's for 3 years is because we need to have that to make the rotation work out. If you'll notice on the last page that was provided for you, shows the names of the Planning Commission members and the years in which their terms expire. So in order to make that rotation work in an equitable manner, that was the reason we're proposing that Mark's be for a 3-year term. Questions on those pages or questions on that appointment?
So here's a couple of questions.
Okay.
Terms shall be staggered in such a manner that no fewer than 2 terms expire in a given year. If you look over at the term column there on that second page, we don't have anything expiring in 2023. Is that a problem?
That is correct. The reason we don't, David, because before it was always on even numbered years. And it really didn't work out to have 9 positions with only a 4-year term to be able to rotate through on even numbered years. So the motion we just passed a minute ago, we changed that from even numbered years just to in January. If that made any sense.
Okay.
That's why we changed that, is because it just said even numbered years and it didn't work with 9 members, 4-year terms every other year with just 2 or 3 members rotated out.
Okay.
So as we go along, we can fill in that other odd year later. You're correct, Dave. We don't have any in 2023 at this point.
Or 2023.
Right.
There were no terms
Correct.
expiring in 2023.
Correct.
So this one's for Gary. We haven't heard enough from him yet tonight. Wake up. Just looking at the code, Gary, on that section, there's no definition of a majority. Is that important?
No, a majority is always the one more than it would take for the vote. So it just the way that it is.
So absent of a super majority or some other definition, it'd always just be assumed to be one more.
Yes, and there's not in the planning commission, there is not a supermajority. City council only needs a supermajority in one type of decision, and that is the selection of a city manager or the changing of the powers of the mayor. But the planning commission never needs a supermajority.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, great question, David. So to help clarify that further, if there is a 7-member council, you'd have to have a vote of how many to pass something.
4.
You'd have 4 voting positive in a meeting to pass an item since there's 7-member council. Okay,
So
good
just
question, David.
Yeah, just procedure. If say a member, a regular planning commission member were absent and both of the alternates were present, do they automatically drop into authority to vote, or one of them?
That is the way it works, yes. And that's the reason for the alternates. As if a member can't be there for whatever reason, the alternate has full authority and power to step in and vote for them. Also, we invite the alternates to all meetings. All the alternates are there. They're welcome to give comments and thoughts and commentary. But we only have 7 members vote at a meeting.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thanks.
No, good questions. Appreciate the clarification on that. Further information, further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion that pertains to Resolution 2102, appointing those 4 members of the Planning Commission.
Mayor, I'd move that we approve Resolution 2102, a resolution appointing individuals to the Planning Commission and receiving the advice and consent of the City Council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Motion by David, second by Jeff. We pass Resolution 2102, a resolution appointing individuals to the Planning Commission and receiving advice and consent from the City Council. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, see no, proceed to vote. Okay, Tony.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
And David.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed unanimously. Therefore, Resolution 2102 has been passed. Okay, Tony, we'll move to item number 8. We'll turn time back to you, Tony, on that one, if you would.
A resolution.
Tony, Rod Meekham's on too. If you want to have Rod comment at some point, you're welcome to do that. Okay.
Resolution 2101 is a resolution of approving a release of a temporary easement by Morgan City. It's very, very difficult to see, but I'm going to refer you to the map of the Wasatch Shadow subdivision. And what we needed in is a little smaller font, I think, so we can all see it. I mean,
You're not getting any younger, Tony.
Yeah, I've got my cell phone light on it so I can even read the thing. But as you look at that, as you look at the roadway that is now going to enter into the new subdivision, if you look at the Wasatch subdivision, lot 43, if you have eyes well enough to see that, that is right there on the left-hand side of the road as it enters the new subdivision. That lot was vacant. It was a turnaround because the road dead ended there, and so it was needed for a turnaround. Of course, now the new subdivision is being built. That road has been extended. So what that does is it opens up that lot to be buildable. So that is this, therefore the temporary easement, the release of the temporary easement by Morgan City. Hopefully that explains that, Mayor. I hope.
Any questions from the council?
So the new road that adjoins that's been dedicated and is now ours. I mean, I assume that's when we release our easement. It's when we have the new road available and is ours.
That road then goes into Pheasant Run.
Right.
That road is asphalt with curb and gutter, so the road exists there. So a vehicle could go into that road and turn around. the way that process runs as far as us to obtain that road, after the subdivision has final approval, then there's a year waiting period. And after that year waiting period, then the city would take ownership of that road. So we don't have ownership yet, but that road is established. It's a public road.
Public road.
Therefore, emergency vehicles, ambulances, fire engines could go on the Pheasant Run, turn around there rather than needing to use that lot for emergency.
I mean, a property owner could say, don't come onto my, or could they? I mean, where it hasn't been given to us, could they say, hey, it's still mine, you can't access it, and now we're in a bind?
They've already been, Pheasant Run already has final approval on phase 1 and phase 2. Therefore, it's open for public use.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gary, please.
The year is just for the warranty on the improvement.
Gotcha.
And
so
the street has been given to we just don't accept it until we're sure it's not going to crack.
We'll still plow and everything though at this point.
We do.
Got it. Thank you.
Further questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion then on resolution 2101.
I move to approve the resolution 2101, release of temporary easement, Wasatch Shadows subdivision phase 2.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by David, second by Eric. We pass resolution 2101, release the temporary easement for Wasatch Shadows subdivision phase 2. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, proceed to vote again by roll call. Go different this time. David.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
And Tony.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. That release of temporary easement, Wasatch Shadows phase 2 has been passed. Mr. Meekum, Rod's on tonight. Rod, would you like to make any comment? I, for one, would like to thank you for your patience all these years and that being tied up. Thank you for putting that subdivision in there for us. Rod, do you want to make any comments?
No, I don't. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rod.
I just wanted to hear the discussion about it and answer any questions if there were any.
Okay.
So thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. All right, next item number 2103, excuse me, item number 8, resolution 2103. Tony, would you handle that one as well?
Once again, put on your magnifying glasses and look at Pheasant Run subdivision phase 1 map that was in your packet. There's been a temporary easement at the end of that road at the end of phase 1 on what would be deemed, what is that called? 275 North Street, I guess. Would that be correct? And that easement was there for a turnaround. It was part of phase 1. It required that turnaround. Phase 2 is now being built with the infrastructure. And so that turnaround there at the end of the road is no longer necessary or needed. Back to phase 2. So that easement becomes unnecessary as well. And so resolution 2103 is a release of a temporary easement by Morgan City in that specific area.
Okay. I know that phase 2 has been recorded with the county. Phase 2 has the infrastructure of the road, curb and gutter in there. City's working on pulling the sewers in, water's in, secondary water's in. City's working on pulling power. So that second phase has also been recorded and is available for lots to be sold and potentially to be built as soon as someone's ready. Questions on this resolution? Okay, if there's not any question, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor?
Tony?
I will make a motion that we approve resolution 2103, the release of a Pheasant Run subdivision, phase 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Tony, second by Jeff. We passed resolution 2103, release of temporary easement, Pheasant Run subdivision from phase 1. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Okay, Tony?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
And David?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed, 4 in favor. Resolution 2003 passed. Temporary easement in phase 1 of Pheasant Run has been released. Okay, next item number 10 on your agenda.
Mayor,
Yes.
I've texted Tom. He hasn't joined the meeting yet, so just,
It shows he's on.
oh, he is now. Okay.
Yeah. Tom.
Yes.
We're on the item that talks about resolution 2104, dealing with Morgan City and Dominion Energy. We'd like to have you talk with us if you would. I think everybody on here knows Tom Dixon. Gary may not. Tom's been around for a long time. Tom used to work for. I don't know if it was Mountain Fuel back then or not.
As I did start,
it's called Dominion. Anyway, Tom and one of his fellow workers came and met with Tom and I a while back and explained their program. And I was pretty impressed with the kinds of things that the Dominion is doing in the realm of energy conservation, green conservation, and the kinds of things that I hadn't tapped with with Dominion. So Tom, would you take a minute, just kind of talk to us about the kinds of things that you're doing in your relationship with the city?
You bet. I'd be glad to, Ray. Thank you. So just a few of the things that we're doing. Everybody knows us. We're the provider of natural gas within the state. We're controlled by the Public Service Commission, but we see energy efficiency programs coming all about throughout the cities in the state of Utah. And we would just like to get on board with cities and say, we are here, we're doing other things that maybe people don't know about. For instance, energy efficiency. We continue to have our ThermWise program that if any members or any of your citizens in the city desire to have efficiency programs run or looked at, we will come in and do that. So we still provide that throughout the state. We're also doing energy benchmarking, trying to get data collections off energy use. Many of you have probably seen mailers sent out to you and your neighbors saying how much the neighbors use compared to you. We're trying to do everything we can to be as efficient as we can and to reduce greenhouse gases through the use of good renewable energy. We're also getting involved in using methane from certain types of farms. Right now, big on pig farms with the Smithfield project that we are introducing those gases into our system, and then they go and serve the customer as well. So what we're really hoping for is that we can go with some type of agreement that the city says anytime that you want to use or discuss certain types of energy efficiency things, that you'd allow us to be in the conversation with you. And that's essentially what we're seeking for with this agreement. It's a non-binding agreement. We just have it in place for 4 years, just saying, if you guys have any ideas, or if we have any ideas, we'll pass ideas to you as well. Any questions on that?
Just another observation I have is Tom met with us before, like he mentioned the methane gas piece. I wasn't aware that the Dominion or our natural gas people were looking at other types of sources. So they're looking at other kinds of gases like methane gas and others to incorporate in their system to help you well, more efficient and cost effective and reduce the output of the pieces that people don't like, as far as being more green. There's several other pieces Tom talked about. I guess I just kind of saw them as a Utah base. But Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, you spread much further than Utah and within your group, within your
Correct.
Correct.
The parentship that purchased this is from back in Virginia. And in those, they have some major electrical stuff. But down in the deserts of central Utah, we have gathering points for electric that is used through our Dominion Energy footprint. Most of what we deal with is the distribution portion on the gas side. And so we are looking for any ways that we can be more efficient and more effective in greenhouse, in other options. And so we like to hear when cities have ideas or they have proposals that they think, and to be in conversations with those too.
Questions from the council for Tom or somebody ready for a motion?
So Tom, in the agreement or statement, we got words like "we'll work together" and can appreciate the sharing of ideas, but that you mentioned. But it also talks about jointly promoting. What does that involve on the city's part when we promote?
Well, you pretty much do it already, David, I should say. When subdivisions like Pheasant Run and others like that, you're allowing us to get in and to install gas lines that customers then hook up with. And we don't say that you would have a big job in promoting us by any means, but just allowing us to be within city uses and city subdivisions when they come into play is kind of how we're looking at that, Dave.
Okay. Just second question, things like RNG, wouldn't a lot of that be driven by economics? I mean, you can promote all you want, but you got to have some dollars there to make it work.
You're right in that. It all is driven by economics. And so what we see though is it seems like our country's going on an avenue of saying we need to get more renewable. So everything that we can do to reduce a carbon footprint, they are encouraging. And so that's why we're reaching out in some of these things, and it's very costly, but they continue to say, we want you to look at this. We want to be sure that there's other ways that we can have renewable type sources. And that's what we talk about in the methane and from the pig farms, the gathering that they are doing there.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead, Tony.
Just an FYI, I don't know how many individuals realize this, but our curbside garbage, of course, goes down to the Layton landfill. They've had methane collection systems at the Layton landfill now for several years. They collect the methane off of the landfill down there, and it's supplied to Hill Air Force Base. So it's just a kind of an aside, but just something you need to know, that your garbage is going down there, and as it's put into the landfill, the methane off of that is being collected and used as energy on Hill Air Force Base. So you can say your garbage is green. If you'd like.
Further questions, or I'll entertain a motion if you're ready.
I just ask.
Gary, go ahead, please, Gary.
Yeah, Tom, just a question for you. Steve Handy has a bill up at the legislature this year. Are you aware of that bill?
No, I'm not, Gary. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I heard that Dominion, it was Dominion's bill, but it's just a bill that that mandates that municipalities allow any kind or every kind of utility into a jurisdiction. And I just wondered if Dominion was having a difficult time getting into some jurisdictions, or if that was an issue in the state of Utah. I know it would be in California, a lot of cases, but I just wasn't sure if that was a problem in this state.
we haven't seen it in any cities within the state. There have been some proposals from certain cities, but nothing yet has come through to say, no, you can't be in our city. Great question, no, Gary, because we continue to be concerned about that.
Any further questions or somebody ready for a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept resolution 21-04, resolution adopting and approving the Morgan City Corporation and Dominion Energy with Utah Corporation statement.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Jeff, second by David, that we accept and pass resolution 2104, a resolution adopting and approving the Morgan City Corporation and Dominion Energy Utah Joint Corporation Statement. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, so you don't see the vote. Okay, Jeff.
Aye.
Tony.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
And Derek.
Aye.
Okay, four in favor, motion passed unanimously. Therefore, resolution 2104 has been passed. Okay, that concludes our agenda items. We come down to number 11, which is City Council and City Manager report. We'll let Ty go ahead and start that. And rest me thinking if there's anything else you have you'd like to discuss, we'll open up for discussion later for some points you have. Ty, would you like to give your report?
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. Let's see, we have some things already on the agenda. So just for the council's awareness, we received this plaque for the System Improvement Award from UAMPS at the annual conference. It's kind of interesting. They mailed it to us and we accepted it online. But I think it's significant that we received that for such a little system. And it didn't have anything to do with rebuilding after the windstorm. This was all prior to that. All the work that we've done on our substations and we built the new substation and rehabbed the Mahogany Ridge substation and continue to make improvements with our fuse coordination study and Clark's doing a great job with our power system. So I just want to thank Clark and our power crew for all the work that they do to improve our reliability and we have a good little system, we'll call it that. Just a matter of awareness that we received a notice of violation and non-compliance from the state Department of Environmental Quality on our sewer lagoons. Most everything that was on there was is going to be fixed with the current project for the diffusers to increase the transfer of oxygen, just to make the lagoons a little bit more healthy. And so that project's in the work and we responded to let them know what our plan was to deal with our deficiencies. So not a major issue and I think they'll accept our response.
What's the estimated completion?
Oh, I don't remember now. Engineering is just beginning, so I think by the end of the summer. But I don't remember the date that was on the contract that we approved.
So we have to wait till July to flush our toilets?
No. You keep flushing, we'll take care of everything, David.
I'm gonna flush twice just for you.
Okay. Then we have our road project this year is for Island Road, and it's almost ready to go out to bid. And so that's just an awareness that it would be a leveling course and overlay around around the bend and down to the Island Road, and the county's planning on doing their portion of Island Road at the same time. So we've been coordinating efforts there. We have looked at our utilities, and the water line and the sewer line are both in good shape. We don't feel like that's gonna be a major issue. And then the water line actually doesn't even live in the road. It's on the shoulder of the road. There's the main concern is there's a stretch that's smaller. It's a 6-inch instead of an 8-inch water main. I think Eric's familiar with that stretch, as he didn't have enough fire flow, but it's also at the end of the line. And so we don't anticipate needing to upsize that line for future development, as we've serviced everything right up to the city boundaries. We've had that estimated, and it's about a $300,000 project to update that water line. But given where it's at and the condition is good, it's just really the matter of the
Hey, Ty,
size. Yeah.
to that point, and I thought of this as I'd worked on that Darrell Rupp subdivision. Are we going to have enough water down on this end to support that? I mean, I don't know how the water lines are laid out. I'm just asking the question. But
Yeah.
so if we don't have enough fire flow down here on this end, you add 30 more or 26 or whatever it's going to be, 23 more houses. It just seems like it's going to be sucking off even more water. But I don't know how the water lines are laid out. So, I mean, that's just one of my concerns.
Yeah, so we have plenty of pressure. Yours is down the end. It's just the size.
It's not a pressure issue because I got a ton of pressure.
Right.
Flow.
Right. It's the size of pipe, but actually there's an 8-inch line already in 400 West. And the source, we have a well right there at the end of 400 West. And
but
so
doesn't the source, but it would have to go from the well to the tank and then from the tank back. You can't. I mean, that's usually how it works. Bernal?
Yeah, it'll feed into the system, and it's once it's all looped, where it ties back, then it's not anticipated that that new subdivision would have any impact on the water available at the end of Island Road. It's just a size, the size of pipe issue.
Okay, that's fine.
That's very southern. When we do typically throughout the year, and Tony can answer this better, clarify if I'm wrong. A lot of the year throughout the winter, the springs have enough flow for our city to use their water. In the middle of summer, when we're using a lot more water for other activities for outside, that's when the springs don't supply enough. We turn the pumps on. There's 2 or 3 pumps around the city, and they feed actually into the line. There's not a line from the pump up to the tanks. Those pumps, the wells feed into the line that goes past them. Just point of clarification and information.
That helps because I mean, it's just like I said earlier, I didn't know how it was laid out. So
yeah. So anyway, we just keep evaluating, the condition of the road versus the condition of the infrastructure, and that road is getting pretty bad, and it's going to get a lot worse if we don't at least do a overlay on it. So that's kind of where we're at on road projects this spring. And we have evaluated the infrastructure, and we don't feel like we're going to have any issue with the lines and until the road's ready to maybe be repaired again in the next decade. So our council room is under repair. Part of our COVID money was to redo the council room for future council meetings. A lot of technology is being put in there, so it will update our recording system, our display system, and our ability to conduct remote meetings. So the day that we do come back in person, we'll continue to be able to broadcast them. Right now, if we all met in that room, we'd have really only one computer that could broadcast the Zoom meeting, and it wouldn't render very well for for the public or allow interaction. So that'll help us well into the future, and it's a major upgrade. So that project's going on. Just a reminder that we have the Wasatch Choice meeting on Thursday, if you're available to attend that at 4 o'clock. It's joint with the county and the city, hosted by the Wasatch Front Regional Council, just to go through some priorities and that sort of thing. And then last announcement is just for the group's sake that the mayor has designated David and Jeff Wardell to participate on our surplus property group. So if you remember at the last meeting last month when we adopted that new ordinance for the process of surplusing properties, we decided to have 2 council members participate in that. So Jeff and David, if you saw the emails, congratulations, you've been selected. And I think I forgot to call you. I don't know if the mayor asked you, but we don't ask, we just tell. I mean, you're going to be
another
on
meeting. What's another meeting?
So anyway, we do have 3 vehicles that we're in the process of surplusing. So we'll be putting a value on that, and then as a group selecting the appropriate process to surplus those 3 vehicles according to our new policy. So I just wanted to make David and Jeff aware that they're on that committee, and then of course the council.
Got the email. I assumed there was something going on. Figured there was.
Hey, Ty.
Yeah.
So, update us on the bridge over the River Kwai. How's the bridge project coming?
So it hasn't gone out for what they call the RPLOC process yet. That's a UDOT project that would select the engineer. So it got pushed off till February. They said they're going to do that process in February. We'll select a contractor, but construction now isn't slated to start until the calendar year 2022.
I get asked that question a lot, so.
Yeah, so it's ready to go. All the funding's there. It's just a matter of the UDOT timeframe when they pull the trigger on the project. So that's the current update that I have, and so we're about 6 months later than what we thought we were going to be.
Ty, can I interrupt for just a minute?
Yep.
Could I have the person that's on the meeting with phone number 801-829-8893 identify themselves so I can put your name on the roll, please? Does anyone have an idea of that phone number?
That's I think that's a different number than that was on there before, because Ron had identified him.
Yeah,
himself.
Ron had identified him, but that's not Ron's phone number.
Yeah, so it'd be good to find out who that is if they're listening. Maybe I'll ask to unmute.
Yeah, I've tried,
Oh, okay.
but.
This is Olivia.
Oh, hi. Can you repeat your name, please?
Olivia Reese.
Oh,
Olivia Reese.
Olivia.
With the newspaper.
Yeah.
Welcome, Olivia.
The press.
Yep, I'm happy to be here.
It's the Morgan County Press for
Pretty much.
government entities.
Thanks, Olivia.
Yeah, no problem.
Remember that number.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. So Olivia, I'm a little backed up. I did get your email, so I will be responding in the next day or two, just as an update on our general plan. But in the short term, we are ready to, the community survey is almost complete. So that'll be the next step in the process, is that some residents will get randomly selected to participate in a community survey.
Great.
So yep, that, and then if you've been in the meeting, then that's the update on what else is going on in the city right now. So if you have any follow-up questions on what may be interest to you, then I'll follow up with you tomorrow. So
Thank you.
you bet. Okay, I think that's all my updates, Mayor.
Denise, anything further from you?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Gary.
Yes, just want to remind everybody that next week the grand experience on the Hill begins, and we've already had a number of bills filed. Some of them pretty damaging, I think. You know, it always looks bad up front, and you think to yourself, if this comes to pass, then we're finished as a world. And then by the end of the experience, things level out and they begin to make sense. But it's going to be a tough year because none of us are going to be up on the Hill this year. We're all going to be doing it by video. And so what I was going to do is I'm going to get the addresses, phone numbers, and contact information for your legislators up there. You got Ann Milner. Have you? I can't remember who took Logan's place up there.
Karen Birkeland. Karen Birkeland.
So I'll get you the information on those two individuals if you don't already have it. And there may come a time when we need to have you get on the line because they listen to you and they'll respond to you as city council people and as the mayor. Whereas they just kind of ignore me when I call, but that's not a bad thing. We actually spoke to Senator Milner today about Utopia because they're having problems all over the state with connectivity, and Weber County is actually looking at the unincorporated county at putting Utopia in Weber County to try and get service to areas like Eden and, you know, up in the valley, and then also up in Uinta in that area. There's just really, really bad service. And then there are some other there's a bill up there that you ought to be aware of. It's Paul Ray's bill on essentially allowing developers to hire their own building inspectors and plan reviewers. And so they can go ahead and do that themselves. And they just go ahead and do it. And they give themselves their own certificate of occupancy for their homes. That's half the bill. The other half of the bill prohibits cities from imposing any type of standard when it comes to building. The square footage of a home, the percentage of brick, you know, the setbacks, the height, whether or not it's a peaked roof or a flat roof. That would all be up to the builder to make that determination. The cities could not regulate any of those design standards for homes. And that's Paul Ray, who is the president of the Home Builders Association, is proposing that bill. He proposed it last year, and we kind of took him off the warpath temporarily, kicked it down the road. But it's things like that we will need your help with this year because they're mandates that just kill us. And so I thought I'd just raise that little issue. But look forward to working with you on it, and I'll bring information back to you on what damage they're doing to us up there.
That almost sounds like the slaughterhouse that wants to do their own inspection.
Yes. Oh, they have not separated out commercial and industrial and residential. So they would do their own commercial inspections as well. It's almost kind of like the school district now. Where they do their own work, and the slaughterhouse wants to do its own inspections. That's kind of like the fox watching the hen, you know, that old expression, fox watching the hen house.
Gary, would the Utah League be a good place to monitor those, to watch and see the progress?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And they actually have a bill list, and they show on that list which bills are hot and which bills are not. And that is good to follow. But to join in on the LPC meetings, if you wish to do that, just communicate with either me or because I can get you on. But I know Ty has a connection too, don't you?
Yeah, I'm on that list.
What's LPC?
Legislative Policy Committee. It's the Legislative Policy Committee, and I think You have one or two representatives on that board. I think Ty is. And,
Yep, I think it's the mayor and I.
Yeah.
and
David,
Denise,
do you get that update from ULCT each week, each Friday? They're after
Yes.
every Friday.
Yes.
In there, they've got links to that meeting Gary's talking about.
Okay, good. I'll pay
There's
attention.
a link in there. You could attend that meeting with that link. It
All
comes
right.
in that Friday email.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
and Denise represents the recorders as well, I think. Don't you? You're one of the individuals that watches recording laws that they try to sneak past us. Okay. All right. Just want to let you know the fire has started. So
Just don't throw gas on it.
So Gary actually reminded me of another update that I forgot. Mark Schmid has gone on short-term disability, and we're using WC3. So we did the hiring process, and we had 6 applicants, and we went through the first top 3 applicants, made offers, and couldn't come to terms with any of the applicants, and so WC3 has assigned a building official and an inspector. And so we have a little bit of reach back capability, and they're, so Josh is our new, let me look at his last name. Sorry, a second.
But while time's going, those individuals that we attempted to make an offer to, what happened is their current cities offered them more money and more benefits. They didn't come. That's what happened to them.
Wow.
And that's after we had upped the wage. So we ran it for 2 weeks, didn't get a single applicant or a phone call. I upped the wage to a higher level that piqued interest, but then it just became a way for them to put in and then counter with their own employer to increase their wages. And so for the benefit of all the other jurisdictions out there, I quit that process.
You're not going to help them anymore.
So if Gary lets the homeowner association pass that, but we will need an inspector.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm actually thinking of becoming an inspector.
You're becoming one?
That'll be very, very valuable if that's the case.
Who's WC3?
Yeah, so Josh Goodman is our inspector. He's up here every day. And then Cody Richards is our building official. So when things need signed off on a building official, it would be Cody. But Josh is going to be working with our all of our building permits and our internal staff on a daily basis.
What's WDC3?
It's West Coast Code Consultants.
Oh.
So it's a private company that doesn't, and what we have is just an hourly rate with them.
Like a temporary agency?
Yeah, they just do it all. They already do our commercial, so they have expertise in a lot of areas where one person just can't handle the load. So they did all the inspections on the hotel project. They're doing all of the townhomes in Riverstone already. And so now they're just helping us through that permit process.
So that's temporary. Meanwhile, we continue our search.
Yeah, we got to just kind of build a new strategy, I think. They'll have us covered. It is something that they offer as a company, so it doesn't have to be temporary. But we just need to regroup and maybe get an inspector on board that can then come up to speed and work towards building official rather than try and recruit a seasoned building official from another jurisdiction. I mean, after someone's been with a city for 15 years, it's also hard for them to leave, where they've built their own reputation there. So anyway, that's where we're at on that inspection side.
Okay. Councilman Eric, anything else you got?
Yeah, I got just one little thing, and it's kind of a little funny item. The other day I was out for a walk and I noticed our new substation has still got a big wooden address sign on it. Wonder if we ought to take that down and put something up more permanent.
Good idea.
Just a little something. I just noticed it. I'd rather drive by that thing a million times, but.
Well, we want to keep the look and feel of Island Road. So
yeah, on the piece of plywood that's tilted off of the crooked on the new substation.
Yeah,
you got it, Ty.
I'm just saying, we save our good signs for places that have curb, gutter, and sidewalk. So
I get it.
no, we can. Normally, I don't even think they're addressed. I think we put that up during the build just so that the contractors could.
And if we don't, then that's fine too. I just noticed, well, do we even need the address there? And I was like, well, I'm just gonna go take it down. And then I thought, I better not just go take it down. That wouldn't be good, but just kind of something little and kind of funny maybe, but.
That is, I mean, every time I drive by, I look at the structure and what a great job it's doing. I look right past the sign, so.
Most of the time, that's exactly what I'm looking at, going, man, look at that. And now the other day, I was just on a walk and looked over and I'm like, what the heck is that plywood hanging on that fence for?
Yeah, we'll move it over to the Rocky Mountain Power side because it matches theirs.
Better. That's all I got.
I appreciate that.
Jeff.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Tony?
Yeah, just one item. You know, when Tom was talking and Dave was asking about what Tom meant to, you know, promote green in the city. I got to tell you this. I had this mental image of Dave standing outside of the 7-Eleven with one of those twirly signs dressed up in a costume. Or maybe one of those sandwich signs, you know, Dave, you could go out there and hold up a big old sign, promote green in Morgan City. So anyway.
You mean I have to compete with Jerry?
Just what come to mind anyway, Dave. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It'd work. That would define promoting for sure.
Well, that's what I thought of. Just, you know.
Yep.
want you to feel loved and wanted. I think you would do a good job.
Yeah, we were definitely promoting.
Anything else, David?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate all your efforts. Appreciate all you do for the city. They don't get enough thanks, but the kind of decisions and choices you make are important to us. Even though the budget tonight, we thanked Ty and Denise and Lori, and we thanked our financial people. The council helped to support that by the way you approach and the way you support our staff as well. So I think a part of that goes to the council and the things that you gentlemen do to help support the city as well. So thank you for what you do. The rut thing's been a long, tough one. I appreciate all the effort you put into that, the time you spent on that one as well. And to Eric's come as we look forward to this, this new change. We're looking at the master plan. That's going to take some more good wisdom, good thought. I appreciate you gentlemen and your time and putting towards that master plan to make it look at our future. Your crystal balls are better than mine as we look at what's going to happen 20, 50 years from now. So thank you.
Mayor, Mayor.
Tony, go ahead.
I just want to make two quick comments. I guess maybe I'm speaking for the council, so I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but Ty, I would, be nice if you could pass on to our electrical crew, thank them as far as that system improvement award. Thank them for their hard work and all they've done. And as a city council, I think we recognize that, appreciate it very much. And anyway, so I think they probably need to know that. And also just Denise, thank you for everything. Thank you for keeping us on the straight and narrow. So appreciate all you do as well.
Denise does a good job, doesn't she?
Thanks.
There's a lot of time and hours. You can sense that, and it's complete. I appreciate that, Denise.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I do want to put a little plug. It's election year this year. So who knows that they have to run again? Here's the test. Nobody knows? Eric, you need to run again. David, Jeffrey Richens, and the mayor. So we have 4 this year.
Wow, that went quick.
Yeah. So in May, I'll put it out before May. I'll put it in the paper. And then you'll need to come in between June 1st and June 7th and declare your candidacy. You've been given notice, so you have to come.
All right.
And if we can have another election with 0 campaign signs, that would be wonderful.
You know, I noticed
just as the code enforcement officer, I'm just
trying
saying.
to keep that budget down, Ty.
Yeah. So Ty, I noticed a couple of them leaning up against the wall there at the building. Those are just cleanups that you found.
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe Ray could give those to Ray. He'll need them.
Hey, Denise, so it was me, Ray, the mayor, sorry.
Yeah, David and Jeffrey Richards.
It seemed, okay.
David's will just be a 2-year term since he stepped into Boyd's position that was vacated when he was put in as fire chief.
And the rest of us are 4 years, correct?
4-year. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it seems like I did that just a year ago.
Time flies when you're having fun, Eric.
Good night.
Eric, no storming the city hall if you lose.
Let's not, I'll say this, it's nice to be able to have a differing opinion and feel that. And I think we're all respectful of that. And I wish that our federal officials could feel that same way. I mean, I get that, you know, there's good debate on both sides, but my heavens, to get to that point is something else, isn't it? Unprecedented, really, for our country. It makes me all wonder where we're headed. And you probably all feel the same way. It's unfortunate. And I love that in local politics, we can actually listen to our citizens and come up with a good, lively debate. Even, you know, but it makes you really wonder this process, if it's going to hold up. So,
You know, in our process of evaluating the rezone change, and I didn't think about it, but I probably should have said there when the people were on the line, I appreciated, number one, the information that was provided, because that was very helpful. But number two, it was all done with civility and respect. And I look at that and say, isn't Morgan great?
I agree.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate all that. Okay.
And we won't allow the mayor to incite any activity.
Oh,
probably not in his nature.
Yeah, we're watching your Facebook account or whatever it is that they
You don't
do.
say anything on it.
Even if you lose, Mayor, just say you won. You'll be okay.
Yep. Okay.
all right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. See you later.
Good night.
Night.
All right.